Wachau, a World Heritage Site. A 36-kilometre-long combination of cultivated landscape and the blue and mighty Danube. A boat journey on this famous river is the ideal way of observing the captivating villages and splendid wine-growing terraces along its banks. The old town of Stein extends along a narrow section of the river, with attractive buildings set amid atmospheric lanes. Beautifully restored facades shine out in the bright sunlight. A stroll through Stein provides its sightseers with several inspiring photo opportunities. This house dates back to 1536 and is covered with frescoes and heraldic figures. Stein boasts a large number of intriguing historic buildings. Here the architecture creates a natural balance. The Maut House and the Maria Pila date back to the 18th century and are a cultural delight. Stein was once one of the most important custom checkpoints on the Danube. This small city and its many historic buildings has lost nothing of its former charm. Krems was first mentioned in 995 AD, and its main square contains several impressive houses that once belonged to the city's middle-class inhabitants. In 1305, Krems was granted its freedom. Wine, salt and iron were traded here. The city prospered up until the 15th century. The facades of these 16th and 18th century buildings are historic treasures. One of them was the birthplace of the mother of Franz Liszt. The late Gothic Piarist church, with its tall and broad central nave, excels with its 18th century altar and 17th century pulpit. Attention to detail is omnipresent. Krems is like being in an open-air museum. The first part of our journey travels upstream from Krems to Durnstein. The Danube flows in wide bends through the gentle hilly landscape. Medieval legend has it that the heroes of old Germany once passed through this area. Today, Durnstein still has the view that Richard Löwenherz probably saw when he was imprisoned here. The original settlement had a custom checkpoint and fortress. The blue-white tower of the Baroque church is an indelible landmark of the town. It was built in 1721, and its construction took 4 years. Both the castle and the city of Durnstein originated from a 12th century settlement. The former Chorherrenstift and church still exist to the present day. The castle is situated 150 metres above the town and was built by the Coinringers. This once powerful dynasty had its ancestral castle in Durnstein. They were the relentless opponents of the Babenberger dynasty that also ruled at that time. In 1854, Elizabeth, the future Empress of Austria, travelled downstream to Vienna for her marriage to Emperor Franz Joseph. She was particularly fascinated by Durnstein and its legendary 600 years of history, and was excited at her first glance of the city. The Danube's magnificent riverbanks are visible whilst travelling to Weissenkirchen. The pace of the journey transforms the tour of this section of the Danube into a real adventure. At the point where the Granite Gneiss Plateau, rock formations and Bohemian forests reach down to the river, are fertile terraces on which grow Austria's most famous wine. The wine here is beautifully balanced. Its appealing lightness and gentle acidity are what make it so popular. In spite of devastating fires in 1793, Weissenkirchen is now one of the most picturesque villages on the Wachau. The Traisenhof was built in 1542. It contains a long rectangular inner courtyard with open stairways and arcades. The Wachau Museum displays illustrations and objects of local history, as well as paintings of the Kremser Schmidt School. The asymmetrical late Gothic parish church has a striking square tower and is surrounded by a fortified wall with circular towers at each corner. Attractive houses with splendid facades and balconies dominate the lanes of Weissenkirchen. Some date back to the Middle Ages. Once the Danube was vital for trade. Upstream, ships transported wine, while downstream, a variety of goods including salt were traded. St. Michael is an integral part of the small market town of Weissenkirchen. The village is still dominated by its fortifications that were built in the 16th century to fend off assault by the Turks. The church is a gem of late Gothic design. It was first mentioned in 987 AD and is known as the grandest of all the churches of the Wachau. The present building dates back to the 16th century. The church is encircled by fortified towers and a wall. Somewhat macabre, it contains the remains of mummies and an altar constructed of human skulls. Spitz is located on the Danube and lies in the heart of the Wachau. The village is closely associated with steam navigation, first used on this river in 1829. The Danube Valley enjoys a temperate climate, and strong vines flourish on the slopes of the Tausendeimer Mountain. This imposing late Gothic church dates back to the 14th and 15th centuries. It dominates the picturesque market square. In 1242, the monastery was under the rule of the Bavarian monarchy, involved in a struggle with the Austrian crown. However, in 1504, both sides reached an amicable settlement. A disastrous fire in 1620 and the tumult of the 30 Years' War caused the decline of this once prosperous village. The high altar and its paintings by Martin Johann Schmidt, the most prominent Baroque artist of the 18th century, is as impressive as the imposing pipe organ. Throughout the centuries, terraces have been dug into the hilly landscape. Due to this region's many hours of sunshine, a profusion of good quality wine and fruit are grown here. The name Spitz is derived from the village's rich harvests. This wine village is full of romance. Many famous poets and painters were attracted by its harmonious atmosphere, and were also inspired by the entire Wachau region. The journey on the Blue Danube continues. The famous river is also synonymous with the ever-popular waltz of the same name. High on a rock are the remains of Agstein, one of the mightiest fortified complexes in Austria. It was first established in the 12th century. The castle has gradually decayed since the 17th century. However, its well-preserved main corridor and dungeon are open to the public. The feared Jörg Scheck vom Falde is said to have offered his prisoners the choice of ending their life by plunging from a great height or by dying from gradual starvation. This place awakens an atmosphere of the darker side of the Middle Ages. Deep below, the Danube flowing with history, the Queen of Rivers, heightens the experience of the Wachau region. On the right bank, the 12th century Servite monastery rises above the Danube Valley. Next to it is a castle that was built by the knight vom Schönbuchler. Schönbühl Castle was given its finishing touches in 1820. Typical of the Wachau are its many historic buildings. They date from the Middle Ages. The banks of the Danube have witnessed a good deal of history. Maria Taferl is situated high above the Danube Valley. Since 1660, this former Celtic place of worship has been a popular pilgrimage destination. Its surroundings form part of the Nibelungenau. In the middle of the 17th century, many unexplained phenomena and miraculous healings were reported, and it's believed that they occurred in this mystical place of faith. The foundation stone of the present church was laid in 1660. It was under construction for more than 50 years. The design is surprisingly harmonious, considering its lengthy period of construction with 3 architects. The somewhat severe, yet simple design of the interior continues outside. Its sparse decor dates back to the 18th century. The wonderful climax of the journey on the Danube leads to an artistic and historical gem. The Benedictine Monastery of Melk. A magnificent example of architectural splendor. Melk was documented for the first time in 831 AD. The Romans built a castle at the foot of the rock. Melk's well-known landmark towers 57 meters above the Danube. The Benedictine monastery is an impressive creation of European Baroque. In the 15th century, Melk became a spiritual and religious centre. 2/3 of the text created in Melk originate from the 15th century. From the terrace there is a view of the monastery's towers and facade of Rococo design. The small village is built around the monastery. In 1227, Melk was given the right to hold a market. Its strategic location on the Danube helped to make it prosper. In the famous saga of the Nibelungs, the village is referred to as Medelike. Melk has been closely associated with the monastery for many centuries. The monastery's park is a haven of tranquility and relaxation. The gardens contain an historic water basin as well as a Paradiesgat line. Melk Monastery is popular with one and all. Indeed, its visitors walk in the footsteps of Agstein of Melk, who was mentioned in the novel Name of the Rose. Contemporary frescoes decorate the Prelaten court. They demonstrate the 4 virtues of courage, justice, self-control, and wisdom. The monastery's large fountain is on the trapezoid square that has the enormous dimensions of 84 by 42 meters. Splendid oil paintings decorate the lengthy Emperor's Corridor. The Habsburgs and their royal household had many residential quarters here. The museum contains several religious treasures and also a winged altar that dates back to 1605. This fresco features the triumph of self-control and wisdom. The famous library contains around 100,000 books. For the studious monks who lived here in the Middle Ages, the library was tantamount to a second house of God. This painted fresco demonstrates the allegory of faith. The bookshelves, with their delicate marquetry, form a suitable frame for the monastery's treasures. The monastery possesses no less than 1,900 original texts. Its spiral staircase is adorned with an abundance of stucco design, a truly remarkable masterpiece of architecture. The bones of Holy Koloman are exhibited here, and also those of an unknown martyr. The latter were presented to the monastery by Empress Maria Theresa. The splendid furnishings of the monastery church, including the figures on the pulpit, were created by Peter Wiederin and highlight the religious significance of this building. The light and colour of the interior combine to create a dramatic atmosphere typical of Baroque architecture. Fantasies in iron adorn the Baroque garden that in 1822 was transformed into a park of English design. In approximately 1750, this splendid pavilion was built by Franz Liszt and served as a place of relaxation for the Benedictine monks. The abundance of Baroque design is particularly apparent in the wall paintings. Here, the escape from both reality and the lust of the world are a visual adventure. The frescoes demonstrate the triumph of light. Birds of paradise stand next to predatory animals. The scenes are reminiscent of those in the Garden of Eden. Melk Monastery is a masterpiece that merges seamlessly into the landscape. Here, wine villages of bygone times, castles, fortresses and monasteries combine to complete an idyllic scene. The Danube Valley of the Wachau, a romantic gem set amid a glorious landscape.